Warning, your intuition is actually a trauma response. The breakup text was already sent when her chest locked up. A 5-word message, then silence. Her stomach flipped, vision narrowed, and a voice in her head said, "That tone means betrayal." She deleted his contact, blocked the thread, and sat shaking on the apartment floor. At a retreat last month, they'd called that a soul hit. Tonight it felt like survival dressed as wisdom. To understand how we get here, we need to name the hidden wall most people never see. The overlap between spiritual intuition and trauma-induced hypervigilance. Both live in the body. Both feel certain. One protects you. The other slowly steals your life. The stakes aren't theoretical. Love gets cut off by false signals. Career moves get sabotaged by ominous vibes that collapse under daylight. Health choices swing between neglect and over-testing because a twinge gets read as prophecy. People earn status as the intuitive one, while quietly burning their nervous systems to the ground. Our lens is trauma-forward and clinically grounded, with room for the esoteric. Because lived experience doesn't split cleanly. We'll map the amygdala's rapid threat appraisals, the insula's interoceptive reads, and the anterior cingulate's salient switching. We'll track how the predictive brain, using Bayesian priors, turns yesterday's danger into today's certainty, and why interoceptive prediction errors feel like divine instructions. Here's the roadmap. First, the moment everything changed for Maya. The text, the tone, and the cost. Then why hypervigilance feels like magic, and the cognitive traps that seduce smart people into partial truths. After that, the 4R extraction kit. Regulate, reality test, repattern, rebuild. You'll get decision rules you can use mid-spike in love, at work, and with health scares. We'll run field tests and keep a hit/miss ledger, so confidence tracks reality, not adrenaline. Our promise is simple. By the end, you'll know how to distinguish a soul hit from a survival spike in real time. You won't gaslight your alarms, and you won't glorify them either. You'll learn to pause for 60 to 90 seconds, let precision drop in your body, and then verify. You'll update your priors instead of repeating your past. One parked detail will matter later. The tone that detonated Maya's night wasn't about her partner's intent. It matched a cadence her nervous system learned in the 1990s kitchen, where arguments ended with doors slamming. That pattern sat quietly for decades, waiting for a tone that rhymed. The moment it heard it, the body did what it was trained to do. The meaning it chose was fast, global, and wrong. If this lands a little too close, stay with it. We're not taking your intuition away. We're giving it back to you, calibrated, humble, and testable. Now let's start where every spike starts, inside the body. The moment everything changed, case A, Maya. Maya didn't plan a breakup. She planned dinner. The phone chimed, a neutral ping she'd heard 1,000 times, and her chest snapped tight like a trap. The 5-word text wasn't harsh. It just had that clipped cadence her body read as danger. Before her thoughts could form, her thumbs were already enacting safety. Delete, block, escape. Then came the shaking, the aftershock that always arrives once the decision is irreversible. 3 days earlier at work, a Slack ping had done something similar. The notification tone lit up her ribs with a hot, electric line. She froze, then typed apologies for a mistake she hadn't made. Her manager later clarified it was a system alert, not a reprimand. Relief lasted 10 minutes. The lesson her body took wasn't false alarm. It was that tone means move now. Meanwhile, in the retreat circle last month, people praised this speed. They called it clarity, a clean read. When Maya told the group how often she just knows, heads nodded. A facilitator said, "Your intuition's strong. Trust it." The room gave her status for hypersensitivity, and status is sticky. It feels like truth, but status doesn't hold you at night. After the breakup text, the apartment felt too quiet. She scrolled through photos, trying to find proof she'd been right. A half smile here, a silent afternoon there. Every ambiguous moment got labeled withholding. She slept with the lamp on, heart skittering at each car door in the street below. Loneliness settled in like a low-grade fever. Here's the moment that matters. When she read his tone as betrayal, the certainty didn't start in thought. It rose from sensation, chest pressure, jaw bracing, tunnel vision, and then draped itself in meaning. The meaning came fast and global. He's like the others. That's the seduction. When your body moves first, the story that arrives feels like revelation. The cost started stacking. At work, she began preempting critique by over-delivering, then burning out. Friends noticed she stopped reaching out. In spiritual spaces, disillusionment crept in. If these warnings were wisdom, Why did they keep leading to smaller, tighter choices? Why did her world feel safer, but somehow less alive? One detail she didn't connect, yet sat in the background like a metronome. The cadence of that text, short, clipped, space, period, rhymed with a tone her nervous system learned in the 1990s kitchen, where arguments ended with doors slamming. Back then, a pause before a sentence meant escalation. A cool, efficient voice meant a storm was gathering. Her body learned to move at the first hint. It kept her safe. It also trained a prediction machine. What nobody in the retreat named is what we'll name now. When the body gets good at surviving, it also gets good at guessing. It guesses patterns, not prophecies. In the moment, those guesses feel like a download. From the inside, the difference is invisible. From the outside, the consequences are measurable. Relationships cut short, careers hemmed in, a life managed by alarms. Maya wasn't wrong that something was happening. Her body was signaling intensity. The mistake was mistaking intensity for accuracy. To understand how that happens, and why it feels like magic, we need to go inside the threat and salience loop that sits under every knowing she trusts. Nervous System 101. Why hypervigilance feels like magic. To understand Maya's certainty, we have to zoom into the body systems that create it. 3 players run the opening act. The amygdala handles rapid threat appraisal and learning. It's fast, rough, and it updates quickly when danger pays off. The Insula does interoception. It integrates signals from the heart, gut, breath, and muscles into a felt sense and helps assign precision to those sensations. The anterior cingulate cortex, ACC, monitors salience and conflict. It helps switch attention when something feels important and arbitrates model updates when new data arrives. Together, they prioritize what grabs you and what can wait. Here's the twist most of us never hear. The brain isn't a camera, it's a prediction machine. Using Bayesian inference, it takes your priors, everything you've learned about what matters and what hurts, and forecasts what current signals probably mean. That gut feeling is a best guess under uncertainty. When priors carry a lot of weight, the guess feels like certainty. Now put trauma into that loop. Trauma sensitizes the system. Thresholds drop. Pattern completion speeds up. The brain leans on danger-heavy priors because danger used to be a good bet. In Bayesian terms, the model overweights threat and misallocates precision to alarm signals. Precision here means how confident the brain is about a particular prediction. When precision is high and aimed at danger, the body feels urgency that borders on inevitability. Interoceptive prediction errors are the next piece. The brain fires a prediction, say, this tone means conflict, and then compares it to incoming signals. A mismatch is an error signal. In sensitized systems, the amygdala, Insula, ACC loop treats small mismatches as big problems, which you feel as pressure, heat, tightness, or that global move now. Acting quickly, blocking the number, apologizing preemptively, reduces the error fast. The relief teaches the system this move works. That's the reinforcement. The identity follows. I'm intuitive. I can feel it. It's not faking, it's learning. Here's why it feels like magic. The Insula doesn't speak in words. It speaks in qualities, sharp, dull, heavy, buzzing, and helps weight them. The amygdala doesn't argue, it tags. The ACC doesn't narrate. It flags and shifts focus. When they synchronize, you get a wave of coherent sensation and attention that lands as a knowing. The story arrives after the wave and claims authorship. That's why the meaning feels preloaded. Meanwhile, spiritual language often maps directly onto physiology. Sympathetic arousal, faster heart rate, narrowed vision, heat, can be framed as a surge of energy or a download. Dorsal vagal shutdown, heavy limbs, fog, collapse, can be framed as a void or deep stillness. None of this invalidates real intuition. It just says, adrenaline isn't prophecy, and dissociation isn't depth. Why does accuracy wobble? Because the predictive brain is constantly trading off speed and certainty. In familiar, low-threat contexts, slower evaluation improves signal-to-noise. In old danger contexts, the 1990s kitchen template, the system flips to speed and over-precision. The same tone in a different room gets a different weight. There's one more trap. The relief loop lowers prediction error, which feels good, but it doesn't update the dangerous prior. So the next similar cue triggers the same spike. Without deliberate recalibration, the system keeps protecting yesterday at the cost of today. If you've ever thought, I knew it, only to find holes later, you've met this loop. The fix isn't to distrust your body, it's to change where precision lands. First, lower the physiological gain so the model stops shouting. Then check the base rates and test small. Then rewire the prior so tomorrow's cue doesn't hijack you. That's the bridge into the 4 rupees. The seduction of partial accuracy, cognitive traps. Here's where smart people get trapped. Partial accuracy feels like total accuracy. You catch a real signal, tight jaw, clipped tone, microfreeze, and then your priors rush in with a meaning that fits the old map. The hit you remember is the bodily spike that arrived right before an action that brought relief. The miss, how the story didn't hold up 3 days later, quietly disappears. Confirmation bias makes this sticky. You store the "I knew it" moments in high definition and file the disconfirmations in low res. Communities can amplify this. When a circle celebrates speed and certainty, members develop a shared archive of hits and a collective amnesia for near misses. Meanwhile, base rate neglect does the quiet damage. You forget how often a texting gap is just a busy day, how often a manager's short sentence is just efficiency, and how rare the worst case is relative to the mundane. Hyperempathy adds another layer. You truly can sense arousal, shallow breaths, shifting posture, eye flits. But then projection tags it with meanings from your timeline. Their nervous system becomes a screen for your 199's house. You're not faking it, you're overfitting it. The model is sharp, but trained on the wrong dataset. Ambiguity and tolerance pours fuel on it. The brain hates not knowing. In threat-biased modes, it resolves the unknown toward danger. That's a heuristic. It kept you safe. But it also drives pareidolia for motives. You start seeing patterns of betrayal in random noise, significance in punctuation, omens in scheduling conflicts. Each quick interpretation lowers prediction error right now, which feels like sanity. The cost shows up later as a smaller life. Authority reinforcement can lock it in. A leader says, "Yes, that's your gift," and discourages adversarial testing because doubt threatens the brand. Social rewards accumulate, status, belonging, identity. Over-precision blooms. You go from "I think" to "I know," and the calibration dial quietly breaks. Here's the twist nobody tells you. False positives have invisible costs. You rarely get clear feedback that says, "You overcalled danger." Instead, your world just narrows. You invest in safety theater, preemptive apologies, avoidance rituals, control plans. Relationships become brittle because repair requires uncertainty tolerance, and your system treats uncertainty like a cliff edge. Opportunity costs don't ping notifications, they just vanish. Let's ground this with a micro-story. A designer hears 2 clipped sentences in a review and spends the night building a backup portfolio, certain a firing is imminent. The next day, the manager clarifies 2 specs and praises the concept. The designer feels relief, but files the episode as proof of intuition because the relief arrived after action. The ledger of misses never gets written. What nobody knew at the time, because nobody tracked it, is that the base rate of actual firings after 2 clipped sentences at that company was near 0. This is why a ledger matters. Without one, the brain optimizes for relief, not accuracy. With one, you start to see where you overcall and where you undercall. You learn which arenas are noisy and which are clear. The plan isn't to mute sensitivity. It's to aim it. Keep the signal. Drop the story until it earns its way in. That's what the next section builds. Criteria to separate signal from noise, and a protocol that turns "I feel it" into "I verified it." The 4 are extraction kit, overview, and decision rules. Everything we've covered points to a single move. Don't let urgency pick the meaning. The 4 are extraction kit gives you a way to split a soul hit from a survival spike when your body is loud and time feels thin. It's iterative, not linear. You'll loop through pieces fast in the moment and go deeper later. The aim is simple. Drop physiological precision first, then verify, then update, then rebuild a compass you can trust. A1 is regulate. If your heart's sprinting, breath is shallow, jaw is locked, or vision's tunneling, you're in the red zone. Decision rule 1. Never act from red physiology. Give yourself 60 to 90 seconds to lower sympathetic drive, so the model stops shouting. Think 1 long exhale, orienting your eyes to the room, softening your focus. You're not ignoring the signal, you're reducing error inflation. When the body's less certain, your mind can actually check. R2 is reality test. Once precision drops, you generate disconfirmations. What else could this be? At least 3 alternatives. Force base rate logic. How often does this cue equal the worst case versus something mundane? Add a time travel filter. Is this now, or is it the 199's house? Name the echo. Then run a low-stakes A/B probe to collect live data. 1 clarifying text, 1 specific question, 1 observable check. Pre-register what you expect, so you can't rewrite the outcome later. Source audit the signal. Did it arise as a fast, global body wave, an image, or a quiet inner sentence after calm? Fast and global usually means alarm. Quiet after regulation earns more weight. R3 is repattern. If your check shows mismatch with the scary story, you create a new pairing. That's memory reconsolidation. Evoke the old cue, just enough to feel it. Introduce a safety contradiction that the old map can't explain. Then let the system restabilize with the new link. Practically, that looks like staying with the tone that triggers you while receiving repair, kindness, or neutral data in real time. You also adjust language, drop oracle claims, and move to probabilities. It's 60% stress, 30% my prior, 10% real issue. I'll test. Then a micro-commitment. Take a 2% braver step that aligns with the updated read to reweight your priors towards safety. R4 is rebuild. Calibration happens over weeks. You map domains where your signals run clean and where they run noisy. Love, work, health, spiritual practice. You set confidence bands based on ledger data, not vibes. You privilege slow intuition, time, sleep, sunlight, distance, particularly when stakes are high. You build feedback loops with mentors and peers who'll give you consented mirrors. Ethics matter. No reading people without consent, no certainty theatre. If you overreach, repair. Here are the decision rules in plain language. If red zone physiology is present or the context is high ambiguity, delay or minimize action. By time, no irreversible moves from red physiology. If base rates and live data disconfirm the scary story, downgrade confidence immediately and document the update. If stakes are high, seek external verification before you act, consented mirror, objective metric, or time delay. If the signal grows quieter after a 1 and gets clearer after sleep, upgrade confidence modestly. If it grows with adrenaline or audience, downgrade. Always log the prediction and the outcome in a simple hit/miss ledger by domain. Update priors monthly and adjust confidence bands accordingly. This isn't about silencing intuition. It's about earning it. When urgency stops writing your script, guidance can finally speak. R1, regulate, body downshift protocol. Start here, always here, the body. If your heart's pounding, breath is high in your chest, shoulders are climbing toward your ears, and your vision feels like a tunnel, you're in the red zone. Red physiology writes loud stories. Green physiology lets you check them. The job is not to ignore the signal. It's to drop the gain so precision isn't overallocated to alarm. Label what's happening out loud, fast and plain. Heart fast, jaw tight, vision narrow, stomach hot. When you name the signals, the insula stops guessing and starts tracking. That reduces error precision by a notch. You've already moved the needle. Now give yourself 60 to 90 seconds. Extend your exhales to a 1:2 ratio. 4 in, 8 out. Whatever your numbers, keep the out-breath twice as long. The longer exhale nudges the vagal brake, easing sympathetic drive. While you breathe, orient. Slowly move your eyes, then your head and neck, taking in corners, ceiling lines, light sources. Let your gaze go soft and panoramic, like you're looking at the entire wall instead of a word on it. Tunnel breaks. Space returns. Add simple vagal-friendly cues if it's safe for you. Lengthen exhale, gentle humming, or a slow head turn while soft gazing. Avoid direct pressure on the neck or carotid area. The point isn't tricks, it's cues of safety layered, not forced. Titration beats flooding. Don't bulldoze the spike. Touch the cue for 2 seconds. Think of the tone, glance at the text, then pendulate back to an anchor you can feel. That anchor should be sensory and specific. Stack 3 sensations. Pressure where you sit, temperature on your cheeks, texture under your fingertips. Cycle cue to anchor, 2 or 3 rounds. Each loop teaches your system. We can touch the heat and come back. Co-regulation amplifies this. If you've got a safe other, let their voice do some of the work. Prosody, warm, varied tone, tells your nervous system you're not in the 199's kitchen. Match breathing for a dozen cycles. If consent and context allow, a steady hand to the upper back or forearm can help. Touch without demand is its own anchor. Track intensity with numbers, not vibes. Before you start, rate the dominant sensation 0 to 10. After 60 seconds, rate again. You're looking for drops of 1 to 3 points, not perfection. That change is prediction error shrinking. When the body's less certain, the story loosens its grip. Here's Maya, 30 minutes after the text. She's on the floor, knees up, hands warm over her ribs. She names, chest tight, jaw clenched, breath short. She extends her exhale, scans the room, lamp, plant, doorframe, and feels the chair's pressure under her. Spine, 2 loops of Q to anchor. Her 8 drops to a 5. That's enough to buy a question later. 2 cautions. First, never weaponize regulation to avoid information. We're lowering noise so data can get in, not numbing out. Second, if dissociation shows up, fog far away, heavy limbs, aim for gentle activation instead. Sit upright, engage legs, splash cool water, hum. We're after green, not grey. When you can reliably downshift in 90 seconds, you've built the doorway to discernment. R2, reality walks through it, cognitive/behavioral checks. Regulation bought you a doorway. Reality testing walks you through it with a pencil and a clipboard. Start with a simple rule. The first meaning is a hypothesis, not a verdict. Say it plainly. Hypothesis A, this means betrayal. Then force 3 disconfirmations. B, work ran long. C, he's anxious and gets terse. D, my system hears clipped as conflict. Make yourself write them or say them out loud. Language slows certainty. Now bring in base rates. What's the actual frequency of worst-case outcomes for this Q in this domain? Not vibes, numbers. If texting gaps have led to breakups twice in 50 instances for you, that's 4%. If clipped tones at work have meant termination 0 times in 3 years, that's 0%. Your brain hates these numbers because they don't feel like anything. That's why we use them. Run the time travel filter. Ask, is this now or the 1990s kitchen? Tag the echo. Clipped voice equals storm coming. When you name the origin, you reassign precision back to the past where it belongs. You're not erasing history. You're telling your model, this isn't that room. Next, pre-register your expectations before you collect data. This matters. Right? If I ask for clarity and they respond with specifics and warmth, I'll downgrade betrayal to 20%. If they deflect or stonewall repeatedly, I'll upgrade. Pre-registration protects you from rewriting the story after the fact. Then do an AIB probe, one low-stakes behavior that gets you live data. In love, send a neutral, specific ask. Hey, that last text read a bit terse on my end. Are we good for Friday? At work, ask, could you name the 2 changes you want by end of day? In health, log the symptom, do a gentle movement test, and note if intensity shifts. The goal isn't to win, it's to observe. Source audit the signal itself. Where did it arise? Body region, image, inner voice. Note onset speed and spread. Fast and global. Heat in chest, jaw, tunnel. Usually maps to alarm. Quiet, specific sensing that appears after regulation, or insight that arrives after sleep, earns more weight. You're not shaming the fast signals, you're labeling them accurately. Now the ledger. Make it boring on purpose. 3 columns, prediction, action, outcome. Add a domain tag, love, work, health, and a confidence score. Once a month review. Where are you overcalling? Where are you undercalling? Update your priors. If clipped tone equals danger, shows a 10% hit rate across 30 entries, you don't erase it, you downgrade its precision. Microstory. Maya texts the neutral ask. She writes her pre-reg. If he replies with a concrete plan and warmth, lower to 20%. 10 minutes later. Hey, sorry, sprinting between meetings. Friday's still on. Appreciate you checking. Her body doesn't throw confetti. It just drops another point. She logs it. 2 weeks and 5 entries later, betrayal predictions fall from 80% to 35%. That shift isn't enlightenment. It's calibration. 2 guardrails. First, don't harvest reassurance until you've done R1. If you ask while in red, you'll misread any answer. Second, don't outsource your read entirely. External data informs. It doesn't replace your compass. The payoff is subtle and huge. Reality starts getting a vote again. Not more drama, more data. And slowly, the system learns that certainty can wait while truth arrives. R3, repattern, nervous system plus meaning update. Regulation gave you space. Reality testing gave you data. Repatterning changes the wiring that kept dragging yesterday into today. The mechanism is memory reconsolidation. When a memory gets reactivated, there's a brief window where its links can update if the brain encounters a mismatch it can't explain away. You evoke the old cue just enough to light the network, introduce a contradictory safety experience, and then let the system rest while the new association stabilizes. Here's how that looks in real life. You bring up the trigger deliberately, but inside a green zone body. Touch the tone, the pause, the clipped sentence, small dose. Then pair it with a live experience that collides with the old prediction. The 1990s kitchen said, clipped voice equals storm. The mismatch might be clipped voice plus warmth, repair, and specifics equals safety. The brain can't hold both maps. If the safety is credible, repeated, and context-matched, the prior loses precision. Maya ran this in micro. After a 1 and a 2, she asked for clarity. He responded with specifics and care. She didn't sprint past it. She replayed the message while breathing slow, tracking the words that contradicted betrayal. She let the warmth land while the cue was active. That's the mismatch. Then she stopped. No overprocessing. 10 minutes of rest. Sleep later sealed it. The next day, she touched the cue again and asked her body, "What's different by 1%? It wasn't fireworks. It was a slightly wider chest, a jaw that released half a notch. Counter-conditioning stacks on top. You re-enter danger contexts at graded levels, timed right after regulation, to cement new priors. If silence at dinner is loaded, you try 3 minutes of shared quiet with a hand on the table. Then name what you notice. If Slack pings you, you open one notification after an extended exhale, not 5 in a panic. Safety plus exposure in small, repeatable steps teaches your system it can stay and discern. Language matters more than people think. Drop the oracle frame. Replace, I know, with right now. It's 30% likely this is my old map, 60% stress, 10% real issue. I'm testing. Probabilities keep the prefrontal online and prevent over-precision from hijacking. Also separate sensation from meaning. Chest tight is data. Betrayal is a story about the data. Micro-commitments pull the update into behavior. Take a 2% braver action that aligns with the new learning. Send one clear bid instead of a protest. Ask one specific question at work instead of building a secret backup plan. Walk for 5 minutes after a twinge instead of Googling symptoms for an hour. Each small approach reweights priors towards safety and competence. Close the loop with ritual. Not spectacle, signal. A brief gratitude for the body that tried to protect you. A release breath. A hand to the heart, or a simple chant to mark the shift. Ritual tells your nervous system the scene has ended and the file can save. One more guardrail. Reconsolidation needs authenticity. Don't force a mismatch you don't feel. If the other person is actually dismissive, you won't update. You'll gaslight yourself. The protocol isn't positivity. It's precision. When you find real contradictions to the scary map, pair them on purpose, rest, and repeat. Over weeks, the alarms get smaller, the meanings get cleaner, and guidance has room to speak. Our 4. Rebuild, Calibrated Intuition Framework. Repatterning opens the door. Rebuilding makes it a house you can live in. This is where you turn sensitivity into a calibrated instrument, not a siren. Think domains, confidence bands, slow intuition, feedback, ethics, and values. It's not dramatic. It's durable. Start with domain calibration. Map where your signals tend to run clean and where they run noisy. Love, work, health, spiritual spaces. Use the ledger you started in A2. Count predictions, hits, misses, and false alarms by domain. If your clipped tone equals danger, hit rate is 10% in love, but 60% with a certain client. Set different confidence bands. In love, treat spikes as low-confidence hypotheses that need sleep and a probe. With that client, give the spike medium weight and verify sooner. Calibration is context, not ego. Now privilege slow intuition. Time, sleep, sunlight, and distance clear interoceptive noise. If the signal grows quieter after a 1 and clarifies after a night's sleep, it likely carries more information. If it swells with adrenaline, downgrade it. Build delays into high-stakes decisions on purpose. A 24-hour pause rule for breakups, big buys, or resignations. Walk outside. Sunlight nudges circadian systems that stabilize mood and attention. Better inputs, better reads. Create feedback loops that keep you honest. Pick 2 consented mirrors, a mentor and a peer, who understand your calibration goal. After major calls, do a 5-minute post-mortem. What was the hypothesis? What did I predict? What happened? What would falsify my current read next time? You're not outsourcing your intuition. You're preventing self-referential drift. Periodically ask for outcome data. Last quarter, how did my risk calls land? Facts, not vibes. Ethics guard the edges. Don't read people without consent. Curiosity beats certainty. If you overreach, projecting, declaring, diagnosing, repair. I spoke with too much confidence. Here's my updated view after checking. That builds trust with others and with yourself. Humility isn't self-erasure. It's keeping precision where it belongs. Anchor everything to a North Star, your values. Build an embodied yes/no scale with somatic criteria that show up in green states, not red. For example, your yes might include warmth behind the sternum, steady breath, panoramic vision, and a quiet thought that returns after sleep. Your no might be cool withdrawal in the belly, heaviness in the limbs, and a constricting throat that persists even after regulation and clarification. Write the criteria. Check them only after our 1 and our 2. Tie values to behaviors. If you value honesty and repair, a calibrated move after a spike looks like, I felt myself tense at that tone. I'd like to check if there's anything we need to clear. If you value courage, the micro-commitment might be one clear bid instead of a protest. If you value stewardship of health, it's graded movement and a symptom log before a late-night search spiral. Keep the ledger alive. Monthly, update priors. If a cue's false alarm rate stays high, lower its precision band. If slow intuition keeps landing, give it more weight. Over quarters, track what matters, fewer urgent knowings, more decisions that age well. That's the quiet signature of calibration. Here's the payoff you'll feel, but won't need to announce. Your world stops shrinking. You still sense deeply, but urgency doesn't own the mic. Guidance gets time to arrive, earn trust, and lead. Field test, love and attachment, case B. While Maya steadied, we took the kit into another battlefield, early dating. Case B is Lena. 2 weeks in, the thread was playful, daily, easy. Then a texting gap opened. No reply for 7 hours after a bright exchange. At hour 3, Lena's chest tightened and the familiar script spun up. They're pulling away. She felt the protest impulse rise. Send a pointed joke, pull back, match distance, preempt the hurt. I won first. She labeled fast. Breath high, shoulders tight, stomach buzzy, vision narrowing to the phone. She gave herself the 90 seconds. Long exhales, panoramic gaze to the window and doorframe, 3 sensations stack. Chair pressure on thighs, cool air on cheeks, the ridge of the phone case under her fingers. The 8 slid to a 6. Not calm, enough room to think. Our 2 next. She said it out loud. Hypothesis A, they're losing interest. Then forced 3 disconfirmations. B, back-to-back meetings. C, battery died, subway dead zone. D, my attachment system hears gaps as danger. Base rates. Out of her last 5 early-stage connections, texting gaps over 4 hours had predicted an actual fade once. 20%. She wrote the pre-registration. If they respond with warmth and specifics about timing, downgrade pulling away to 20%. If they dodge and grow vague over the next 2 days, upgrade. She ran an A/B probe, a low-stakes, specific bid. Quick check-in, still good for Saturday? If today's slammed, no rush. Notice the micro-choice. No protest, no test disguised as a trap. Just a clear bid. While she waited, she audited the source. The signal had been fast and global. Heat in the sternum, tunnel to the screen, classic alarm. That label didn't erase it, it right-sized it. Response at hour 8. Hey, marathon day. Presentation just wrapped. Saturday's perfect. 7 p.m. still good? Also, saw something that reminded me of you. Will text a pic on my commute. Her body didn't flip green. The 5 slid to a 4. She logged it. Domain love, prediction, pulling away 70%. Action neutral check. Outcome, warm plan confirmed. Confidence downshifted. Our 3 started quietly. She replayed the gap cue while reading the warm response, breathing slow. That's the mismatch. Silence plus care, delay plus specificity. She let both exist in her body. Buzz in the stomach, warmth behind the sternum. Then rested. No doom scroll, no overanalysis. The next day, she took a micro-commitment. Instead of matching distance, she sent 1 clear, low-pressure bid mid-morning. Hope recovery coffee is strong. 2 dots, small approach. Across 3 weeks, patterns, not peaks, did the heavy lift. He was consistent with plans, variable with texting. When slammed, he named it. Deep work block, off phone till 5. When free, he sent photos and jokes. Lena's ledger filled. 10 spikes, 7 disconfirmations, 3 partial confirmations tied to his stressful deadlines. Her prior, gap equals fade, lost precision. A new map formed. Clarity and consistency over time beat vibe checks. This is the pivot from red flags to trauma flags. Red flags are patterns that harm and resist repair. Disrespect, secrecy, blame shifting, broken agreements after feedback. Trauma flags are spikes that feel like danger because of your history, but soften with regulation, clarity, and consistent repair. Lena learned to look for 5 things: stated intentions that match behavior, responsiveness to direct bids, repair after misses, consistency across contexts, and alignment with her values. Peaks, sudden chemistry, intense declarations, stopped getting extra credit. One more microstory. Friday night, he arrived 15 minutes late. The old map surged. A1 in the hallway. Long exhale, soft gaze to the streetlights. A2 at the table. Hey, my system hears late as low priority. Can we name what happened? He answered with specifics and a repair. Train stalled 2 stops, text wouldn't send. Next time, I'll add 5 minutes to the ETA. The mismatch landed. Her body didn't erase the spike, but it learned something better than certainty. Trust that earns itself in small, repeated ways. Field test, work and power dynamics, case C. While Lena's ledger grew steadier, case C brought us into fluorescent light and calendar invites. Andre is a mid-level product manager in a fast-growing team. Tuesday, 11:12 a.m. A meeting ends with 2 clipped sentences from his director. This needs tightening. Send me a revised outline by Thursday. As the door shuts, Andre's stomach drops. His jaw clamps. Tunnel vision. The story writes itself. I'm on the chopping block. A1 first, in the stairwell. He names it, jaw tight, breath shallow, heat in the chest. 60 seconds of long exhales. Eyes scanning exit signs, railings, the city through the window. 3 sensation stack. Hand pressure on the rail, cool air on forearms, fabric at his collar. 8 slides to 5. Space to think appears. A2 at his desk. He states hypothesis A. I'm getting fired. Then 3 disconfirmations. B. She always gets terse before deadlines. C. Our roadmap's crowded. She trims language to move fast. D. My old map hears clipped as danger. Base rates. In 2 years, how many people were fired after a request like that? 0. How many times has feedback meant iteration? Dozens. He pre-registers. If she provides specifics on scope and keeps me on the deliverable, downgrade firing risk to 10%. If she removes me from ownership and loops in HR, upgrade. Then an ARB probe. He slacks a clear ask. I heard Titan. Which 2 parts are top priority by Thursday? Problem statement, success metrics, or milestones? She replies in 5 minutes. Great question. Prioritize problem statement and success metrics. Keep milestones high level for now. Ping me a 1-pager tomorrow. I'll mark up. The body loosens another notch. He logs it. Prediction, probe, outcome. Microstory. Last quarter, Andre spiraled on similar feedback. Stayed late 3 nights. And rewrote the deck 3 times alone. Relief arrived only when the deadline passed. So his brain tagged overwork as safety. The ledger didn't exist. The pattern stayed sacred. This time, he builds evidence on purpose. A3 happens inside the work. He opens last quarter's marked-up doc beside today's outline. He breathes slow while letting Titan sit next to concrete edits from before. That's the mismatch. Clipped tone plus specific collaboration. He pairs the cue with safety, then steps away for 10 minutes. After lunch, he takes a micro-commitment. Instead of boiling the ocean, he drafts a 1-page problem statement and 2 measurable success metrics, then sends it with a time-stamped request. Does this hit closer? The markup returns with praise and 2 tweaks. He runs a tiny counter-conditioning step. He reads the red comments while regulated, not at midnight, and adds each change without catastrophizing. The prior, clipped equals catastrophe, loses precision. R4 is the rebuild that makes careers. Andre starts a domain-specific ledger. 4 feedback moments he tracks: tone, content, ownership status, concrete outcomes. Over 6 weeks, a pattern emerges. His director runs terse near deadlines, but consistently gives scope, keeps him on point, and advocates for him in cross-functional meetings. He assigns a confidence band. Firing risk after clipped feedback sits at 5%. Iteration likelihood sits at 90%. He sets a rule: no after-hours rewrite marathons unless scope changes. He also builds a feedback loop. A trusted senior peer reviews his 1-pagers for clarity before they go up. 5-minute mirrors, big returns. Two principles ground this field test. First, data-rich environments tame vigilance quickly. If you ask for the right data. What 2 changes by Thursday? Beats, are you mad at me? Second, power dynamics magnify old priors. The 199's cadence shows up in conference rooms. You don't erase that history, you tag it, then let present tense facts update you. By month's end, Andre's work gets sharper and his evenings get quieter. He still feels spikes, but urgency no longer runs his projects. Precision lives in the brief, not the alarm. Field test, health and somatic signals, case D. The third battlefield wasn't a boardroom or a thread. It was a body. Case D is Nor. Thursday morning, a sharp twinge lanced her lower left abdomen while she reached for a mug. It was brief, 2 seconds, but her mind flipped a switch. Something's seriously wrong. By lunch, she'd mapped symptoms onto every worst case she'd ever read. She cancelled plans, lay still, and started scanning. The stillness didn't calm her. It made the siren louder. I won first. She named the signals. Stomach tight, breath shallow, forehead buzzing, fingers cold. Long exhales, 4 in, 8 out. Soft panoramic gaze to the window frame, the plant, the kettle's curve. 3 sensations stack. The cup's warmth in her palm, the chair's pressure under sit bones, the cotton seam at her wrist. The 9 slid to a 6. Not fixed, just less certain. Our 2 needed numbers and honesty. She wrote hypothesis A, acute medical danger. Then 3 disconfirmations. B, muscle pull from yesterday's workout. C, gastric cramp, coffee on an empty stomach. D, my system tags abdominal twinge as catastrophe. Base rates. In her last 20 stomach scares, how many were serious? 0. How many faded within 48 hours? 19. She pre-registered. If pain stays under 5, moves around, and eases with walking, downgrade danger to 10%. If fever persistent, unilateral pain over 6, vomiting, or red flag signs show, upgrade and seek care. She ran an ARB probe that didn't feed the spiral. 10-minute gentle walk, no phone. Before stepping out, she source audited. Onset was fast and global. Heat, then fear wave, classic alarm. On the walk, the twinge flickered, then softened. Back home, she logged. Domain health, prediction serious 70%. Action walk. Outcome symptom down mobile. Confidence downshifted. Now the crucial distinction. Interoceptive accuracy versus alarm amplification. Nor's body did detect a real signal, a brief cramp. Amplification wrapped it in catastrophic meaning, widened her attentional field to only include threat and suppressed counter-evidence. Labeling this split didn't invalidate the pain. It right-sized the certainty attached to it. Our 3 moved into memory and meaning. 2 years earlier, a friend's delayed diagnosis had seared a lesson. Ignore nothing. Nor evoked that memory lightly, just enough to feel the fear. Then paired it with mismatches she could not deny. Last month's twinge that resolved after food, the negative tests that once followed a similar scare, the current easing after a walk. She breathed slow while reading a text from her clinician written after a previous consult. Red flags are sustained severe pain, fever, persistent vomiting, blood fainting. The old map, twinge equals urgent danger, collided with concrete safety data. She rested. No more Googling. Counter-conditioning came next. Instead of bed rest and scanning, she built graded movement. 5 minutes of gentle yoga, then 10, then a short grocery run. Each step taken, while regulated, taught her system a new link. Sensation doesn't mandate shutdown. Language hygiene supported it. I'm 20% concerned. I'll check in 24 hours, replaced this is it. Micro-commitment. She ate, hydrated, and paused the search engine. Ethics and medicine stayed in frame. She didn't gaslight herself. She set clear evidence thresholds for seeking care. Escalating pain over 6, localization with guarding, fever, vomiting, or new alarming signs. She drafted 3 questions for her primary care portal if the symptom persisted. Duration and quality that matter? At-home tests that clarify? At what threshold do I go to urgent care? Overtesting can reinforce alarm by rewarding vigilance with attention. She aimed for collaborative care and thresholds before labs. By day 2, the twinge faded to a 1, then vanished. The ledger held the truth her fear wouldn't. 21 scares, 0 emergent events, strong correlation with fasting and premenstrual days. Interoceptive accuracy stayed, a real body, real cues. Alarm amplification lost precision. Agency returned, not because nothing hurt, Gifts
because
without
meaning no longer
glorification.
outruns
Now we step into the room where language changes costumes. After you regulate and reality test, what you call intuition often shifts tone. Quiet signals emerge when adrenaline steps back. Calm doesn't erase guidance, it reveals it. Sympathetic arousal can feel like energy surging. Dorsal vagal collapse can feel like profound stillness. Both are real body states. Neither is automatically a message. Adrenaline isn't prophecy. Dissociation isn't depth. So what earns the word intuitive? Start with 4 litmus tests: humility, consent, testability, and service. Humility sounds like, here's my current read, I could be wrong. Consent means you don't read people without permission or dress projections as insight. Testability keeps claims falsifiable. What would prove this wrong? Service asks, who is this for? If the guidance mostly protects your identity or status, that's theater, not discernment. Here's the pattern that sneaks in spiritual spaces. Trauma theater masquerading as mysticism. Groups reward intensity. Tears shakes declarations over outcomes. Leaders valorize speed and certainty. Doubt looks unfaithful. The loop we mapped earlier thrives here. Relief after big performance gets mistaken for accuracy. Over time, vigilance gets robes and incense. Meanwhile, outcomes don't measurably improve. Flip the order. Use devotional downshifts before you listen for guidance. Chant, breath, contemplative prayer, silence, slow walking. These aren't side dishes, they're pre-intuition regulators. You're lowering interoceptive noise so quieter, more stable signals can surface. If a message grows clearer after breath and sleep, you modestly upgrade it. If it swells with adrenaline and applause, you downgrade it. Reframe downloads as hypotheses. Say the quiet part out loud. I'm holding a hypothesis that X might be true. I'll test it across time and data. Track outcomes. If you felt move now and waited a day, did the guidance refine or evaporate? If you sensed reach out and did, what happened 3 weeks later? Calibration loves receipts. Spectacle doesn't. A micro-story from circle work. A participant felt someone across the room carrying betrayal and announced it. The target froze, the room split. After session, the reader learned the person had just received a tough medical update and was dissociating. No betrayal. The overreach required repair, not reframe. The ethical move sounded like this. I spoke with too much certainty and no consent. I'm sorry. Here's what I've learned about checking my state before I speak. That repair restored trust faster than any explanation. What about genuine spiritual perception? It tends to arrive in green physiology, with panoramic attention, steady breath, and a quiet thought that returns after rest. It points toward repair and responsibility more than drama. It respects base rates and personal agency. It lands the way a good truth lands. Firm, not frantic, grounded, not grand. Keep a spiritual ledger too. Note context, state, content, and outcome. Over months, you'll see patterns. Practices that clear you, domains where you're cleaner, cues that fool you. Steward attention, don't chase spectacle. When in doubt, slow down, breathe, ask permission, and let the next right action be small and testable. Quiet is not absence. It's the room where real guidance can be heard. Return to Maya, reveal and rewrite. We circled back to where this started. Not the breakup text, but the sound. Weeks into her ledger, Maya caught the detail we parked. Her partner's clipped cadence matched the 1990s kitchen, not his intent. Same tempo, same drop at the end of a sentence, same micropause before the next word. Her body had been accurate about fear. It was just wrong about meaning. I won first the moment she noticed it. They were washing dishes, a quick back and forth about weekend plans. His voice tightened for 2 beats. Her chest jolted. Instead of stepping away, she labeled. Heat in sternum, jaw load, breath up high, then gave herself the 90 seconds. Long exhales, gaze to the window's edge, the soap slip on her fingers, the cool of the faucet. 8 to 5. Enough room for a question. Our 2 arrived as a bid, not a trial. Hey, this is odd to name in the sink, but when your tone tightens like that, my system hears old conflict. Are you frustrated with me? Or is that just work still in your voice? He blinked, softened, and said, Not with you. I've been in sprint mode all day. I want Saturday to be simple. Specifics, warmth, present tense clarity. She'd pre-registered outcomes earlier in her ledger. If he names state and plan with warmth, downgrade betrayal to 20%. She did, and she logged it. Then a 3, the reconsolidation window, opened right there. Maya let the queue glow, just enough to light the network. Clipped tone plus proximity. Hands in the same sync position she remembered from the 199s. While breathing slow, she paired it with the contradiction she couldn't explain away. His open face, the with you that landed steady, the named desire for an easy Saturday. That's the mismatch. She didn't force relief. She let both maps sit, old storm prediction, new safety data, then stopped. 10 minutes of nothing more than putting plates away and feeling the room. Sleep later did the quiet work. The next morning, she ran a micro-commitment aligned with the updated read. Instead of distance, she sent one clear, values-forward message. Let's block the morning for a hike, low logistics. 2 dots. Small approach. He replied with a trail link and coffee plans. She replayed the old cue while reading that message, breathing slow. Mismatch again. Pair, rest, repeat. They built a tiny repair ritual for tone, by consent. If his voice tightened, he'd add a quick state tag. Sprint voice, not you. And she'd add one breath and an, okay, thanks for naming. 10 seconds, tops. No autopsy, no theatrics. The ritual wasn't magic, it was a marker. Repeated in similar contexts, it became a reliable mismatch experience. Over weeks, her spike curve shortened. The first jolt still came. It just lost its right to run the room. The ledger told the truth her relief once stole. 2 months, 20 tone spikes, 17 disconfirmations. 3 partial confirms linked to actual disagreements that got named and repaired. Betrayal predictions dropped from 80% to 30%. Her body stayed sensitive. Her meanings got calibrated. Here's the line she wrote at month's end. My nervous system protected me in a house where tones forecast storms. It's not that house. I can thank the alarm, then wait while truth walks in. She didn't crown herself intuitive. She earned a compass, quiet, specific, testable, and trust she could feel without obeying every spike. Daily protocol. 10 seconds, /60 seconds, /10-minute flow. This is how you make calibration a reflex. 3 windows, stacked through your day, plus 1 weekly review. 10 seconds, 60 seconds, 10 minutes. It's light enough to use in a hallway and sturdy enough to change patterns. 10 seconds first. Label state, exhale, orient, postpone action. Say 3 body facts. Heart fast, jaw tight, vision narrow. 1 long exhale, twice as long out as in. Let your eyes widen to the corners of the room. Name 1 color, 1 edge, 1 light source. Then tag your impulse. Postpone send. Those 10 seconds don't fix the story. They keep you from turning a spike into a decision. 60 seconds next. Run the mini-check. Generate 3 disconfirmations on the spot. What else could this be? Force 1 base rate thought. How often does this actually equal danger for me? Then do 1 AIB probe you can execute fast and clean. A neutral clarifying text, a single question, a tiny behavior that gets data without burning a bridge. Source audit the signal. Fast, global wave or quiet, specific after com. End by logging 1 line in your ledger. Domain, prediction, action, outcome placeholder. 10 minutes when you can. This is the repattern slot. After you've gathered a sliver of data, deliberately evoke the cue for a few breaths while holding the contradicting safety you just earned. That's your mismatch. Breathe slow, let it land, then stop, no overprocessing. Add a micro-commitment aligned with values. 1 clear bid, 1 scoped deliverable, 5 minutes of movement. Close with a brief ritual. Hand to heart, 1 gratitude for your nervous system's effort, 1 exhale. Save the file. Daily, these blocks look ordinary. Before you hit send, 10 seconds. After a spike, 60 seconds. During lunch or commute, 10 minutes. The point isn't perfection, it's repetition. You're teaching your Insula to track, not guess, and your threat system to share the mic weekly. Do a 15-minute ledger review. Sort by domain, love, work, health, spiritual. Count hits, misses, and maybes. Update priors. If a cue shows a high false alarm rate, lower its confidence band. If slow intuition keeps landing, signals that clarify after sleep and calm, give them a nudge up. Add 1 adjustment to your environment for the coming week. Schedule a 24-hour pause for big calls. Block deep work so feedback lands cleaner. Set movement windows that tame baseline arousal. Fail-safes keep you honest. No big decisions in red physiology. If your heart's sprinting and vision's tunneling, you cannot choose well by time. Phone a friend rules apply. 2 people you've pre-briefed on your calibration goals who will mirror facts, not feed spikes. Sleep on it is policy, not vibe, for anything with long tails, moves, money, medicine, marriage. If urgency grows with adrenaline and shrinks with breath and sunlight, you downgrade confidence. If a concern persists after regulation, disconfirmation, and a night's sleep, you escalate carefully and get external verification. Here's the quiet magic of the protocol. You stop needing heroics. 10 seconds prevents most fires. 60 seconds keeps meaning. Honest. 10 minutes rewires yesterday's map. Over time, the calendar carries your compass. Your signals don't get silenced, they get earned. Objections, edge cases, ethical guardrails. Let's answer the loudest objections and draw bright lines, so this doesn't become gaslight yourself with science. My intuition saved me. Respect. Acute alarms can and do protect. The kit doesn't downgrade clear danger, it calibrates chronic false positives. Keep a 2-tier rule. Tier 1. Acute, unambiguous threats or red flag patterns you've logged before. You act now, leave, call, block, get help. Tier 2. Ambiguous spikes without corroborating data. You run 10s divided by 60s divided by 10m and seek verification. Survival gets priority. Calibration gets everything else. What if I'm neurodivergent? Many ADHD and autistic folks experience interoceptive differences. Signals can be muted, late, or amplified. Transitions spike arousal. Novelty and rejection sensitivity raise baselines. Adjust the kit, don't abandon it. Shorten R1 sets into multiple 20 to 30 second rounds to match working memory and movement needs. Use externalizers, visual timers for breath, color cards for state labels, vibro alarms for check-ins. In R2, replace abstract base rates with concrete checklists and visual ledgers. Pre-register with a buddy to reduce task switching traps. In R3, favor sensory-first mismatches. Weighted blankets, deep pressure, predictable routines paired with small exposures. In R4, design environments, noise management, lighting, and calendar buffers so signals are clearer. Precision comes from structure you can feel. Neurodivergent lens, ADHD/autism. Think prediction and vagal tone. ADHD often shows lower baseline tonic vagal tone and higher context switch costs. The body's brake is weaker, so sympathetic spikes rise faster and decay slower. That raises interoceptive noise and leads the predictive brain to over-rely on urgency as a cue for importance. Over-precision lands on the loudest signal, not the most informative one. Practical tweaks. Front-load regulation with movement. 10 to 30 seconds of rhythmic movement, paced walking, isometric squeeze, release, or wall push-ups, before breath work increases vagal engagement, making exhale practices stick. Externalize priors. Keep a visible base rate card on your desk or phone lock screen. Text gap worst-case base rate, 4%. Seeing numbers reduces the salience bias that noise exploits. Timebox probes. Use a 2-minute timer for our 2 AEGB probes to beat working memory drift and task inertia. 1 question, 1 send, stop. Sensory gating. For autistic folks, sensory overload inflates prediction error. Lower input before interpreting. Noise-cancelling headphones, lower light, monotone background. Then label sensations in concrete terms. Pressure 6/10 in chest. To keep language from abstracting into story. Predictability scaffolds. Autistic nervous systems stabilize with clear sequences and transitions. Use written transition scripts. Finish email, 2 breaths, stand, water, then ask for clarification. To reduce the error burst that comes with shifting tasks. Social decoding. If facial or prosody reads are noisy, switch to explicit data. Ask for content-level clarification, which 2 parts to tighten, instead of motive-level guesses. This shrinks ambiguity, which otherwise the model fills with threat-shaped priors. Stimming as regulation. Allow self-stimulatory behaviors, fidgeting, rocking, as one tools. They're not distractions, they're body-based precision shapers. Pair them with long exhales to sync bottom-up and top-down regulation. What if trauma is complex? If your body drops into freeze, dissociation, or you're looping without traction, add professional help. A somatically trained therapist can widen your window safely, work with parts that hold alarms, and pace reconsolidation. Indicators to seek therapy now. Regular out-of-body spells, self-harm urges, collapses after small cues, or high-conflict relationships that cycle without change. The kit complements therapy. It doesn't replace containment, resourcing, or trauma processing. Am I just explaining away abuse? No. The ledger protects you from spiritual bypass. Patterns over vibes. If disrespect, secrecy, blame shifting, or broken agreements persist after direct feedback and repair attempts, you're not misreading. You're seeing a red flag. The rule holds. No big decisions in red physiology, but once green returns and patterns are confirmed, act decisively. Values beat chemistry. Safety beats sentiment. Isn't culture relevant? Absolutely. Some communities valorize vigilance as wisdom. Others punish direct bids. Hold your cultural lens and still measure outcomes. Honor prayer, elders, intuition, while tracking whether guidance improves relationship health, accountability, and repair. Calibration isn't westernization, it's stewardship. Translate the kit. Breath as Diker, ledger as testimony, repair as covenant. Then verify results. Power and safety. Never let this framework become a tool for someone else to dull your boundaries. If a leader, partner, or therapist uses, it's your trauma talking to neutralize your clear no, step back. Consent and agency are non-negotiable. Check for asymmetric risk, immigration status, financial control, workplace retaliation. Then bias toward protection. You can calibrate later. You may need to leave now. 2 more guardrails. First, don't pathologize sensitivity. The goal isn't to get numb, it's to be precise. Second, don't weaponize the kit on others. You run R1, R4 on your state and your choices. You don't diagnose, downshift, or reconsolidate someone without consent. If you overreach, repair. I was too certain. I'm recalibrating. The identity shift sits underneath all this, from seer to steward. You're not denying the gift. You're earning it by testing it, protecting yourself, and acting in line with your values, even when the spike says hurry. The long game, from surveillance to stewardship. You've got the kit. Now the shift that actually changes a life. Less guarding, more guiding. Surveillance watches for what might go wrong. Stewardship tends what helps things go right. It starts as a choice and, with repetition, becomes identity. Identity first. You're not the person who must feel everything first and loudest. You're the person who notices, names, pauses, tests, and acts in line with values. The title moves from seer to steward. Sensitivity stays. Urgency loses rank. You'll know the shift landed when you can say, I feel a spike, and keep your plan for the day. Capacity is your quiet metric. Wider window, fewer urgencies, steadier presence. A good week looks boring on paper. 3 spikes that didn't run the room. 2 clear bids that earned repair. 1 decision that waited a day and aged well. This isn't ascetic. It's athletic, reps, form, rest season. Relational dividends arrive early. You make cleaner bids, you tolerate pauses, you repair faster. People stop getting treated like weather vanes for your nervous system. You don't swallow needs, you state them without a trial. Conflict becomes a place to practice rather than proof you should leave. Safety gets built, not scanned for. Work changes shape too. You ask for scope, not vibes. You right-size risk, so you take smarter shots. Visibility rises because you're not whispering danger to yourself between every meeting. Power dynamics still stir old maps. Your ledger and rules keep you current. The praise you care about shifts from reads the room to lands the work. Health steadies. You stop bargaining with your body and start partnering. Signals get noticed and contextualized. Movement and sleep become part of intuition hygiene, not penance. Medical care becomes collaborative. Thresholds, questions, choices. Alarm loses the keys, information drives. Creativity wakes up when urgency steps back. Surveillance burns glucose on contingency plans. Stewardship frees it for play. You'll try more, scrap faster, learn cleaner. Risk stops being a cliff and becomes a staircase. You still feel fear, you just place it right, data, not destiny. Stewardship metrics. Make the shift trackable with 5 dials. Spike half-life. Time from peak arousal to baseline after a 1. Aim for a 25 to 50% reduction over 8 weeks. Decision durability. Percentage of major decisions that still look right 2 to 4 weeks later. Target 80%. Repair latency. Time from rupture to first repair bid. Shorter is better. Under 24 hours for personal, under 1 business day for work. False positive rate. Percentage of high confidence danger calls that later disconfirm. Watch it trend down by domain. If it rises, tighten your R2 probes. Values throughput. Weekly count of values aligned micro commitments executed, clear bids, scoped deliverables, health hygiene. Track streaks, not perfection. Creativity in practice. Calibrated systems generate surplus attention. Use it. Build 2 containers. Idea Lab. No stakes, a 30-minute weekly block where quantity beats quality. 10 bad ideas minimum. The rule is shipping the list, not judging it. Your training approach circuits to light up without surveillance choking them. Craft window. Bounded stakes 1 to 2 hours, protected from interruptions, where you move one project forward by a defined unit. 1 page, 1 prototype, 1 scene. End with a micro demo to a consented mirror. Feedback becomes data, not threat, because you ran a 1/2 first. Prime creativity with body state. Do a 1 micro movement plus 2 long exhales before you start. Reduce sensory noise. Name 1 curiosity about the work. Curiosity flips the salience switch from threat to exploration. The same ACC that once flagged danger now flags novelty worth pursuing. Track creative KPIs that matter. Sessions kept, drafts produced, iterations completed, feedback cycles closed. Don't emphasize virality. Emphasize completion and learning loops. Paradoxically, completion and iteration. Raise your hit rate more than chasing peaks. Track metrics that matter. Fewer urgent knowings. More decisions that hold up a month later. Shorter spike curves. Higher repair rates after misses. A ledger that shows declining false positives and rising follow-through on values-aligned actions. If you need 1-sentence test, did I act on what I value more often than I reacted to what I feared? Expect plateaus. Old maps don't love retirement. You'll have weeks where the 1990s kitchen walks back in. That's not failure. It's a rep. Run 10s divided by 60s divided by 10m. Phone a friend. Sleep. Update the ledger. Precision returns. Guardrails remain bright. No big decisions in red physiology. Consent before you read. Patterns over peaks. Culture in view. Boundaries intact. Repair when you overreach. Here's the ending you don't announce, you live. Your world stops organizing around alarms. You still hear them. You just stew with them. So guidance has time to arrive, earn trust, and lead you where relief never could. Self-trust isn't a vibe. It's a practice. Learn your alarms, then earn your signals until guidance arrives calm, specific, and testable. If you want to see how far this can take you, subscribe now. Share this with a friend who keeps confusing foresight with fear. Then watch the companion calibration practice next. The live 10s divided by 60s divided by 10m walkthrough that turns today's notes into muscle memory.